to the losers. And again, we don't really think you're a loser. No one thinks you're a loser, but we got to do it. We're required to have bosses like, can't do winners and losers. And it's tough because a lot of teams didn't have a first round pick. And Breech is going to do something that's worked out very well for many people over the years. He's going to name Bill Belichick and the Patriots a loser. Go ahead, Breech. Tell us why.
Maybe we should call this winners and not winners.
I seriously.
You know what, though? I think I called them loser maybe last draft. I don't know. Mac Jones. I don't remember. But yes, if anytime you put the Patriots on a loser list, you immediately assume that you're going to regret it down the road. And then you second guess yourself and wonder why you did it. And my problem with the Patriots draft is I just feel like they got too cute. Like, look, we know that sometimes you find these diamonds in the rough at these small schools. I get it. But what you can't do is draft every single guy from a small school. It's just not going to work. A lot of these guys, there's a reason they're at a smaller school. And I get that, it sometimes works out. But when more than half your picks, starting off with Cole Strange, Tennessee Chattanooga, look, Cole Strange probably lasts till the second round, maybe till the third round. Feels like a huge reach. Then you go to they got someone from South Dakota State. They got a quarterback from Trapasso talked about earlier, Belly Zappi from Western Kentucky, someone from Northwest Missouri State. I think that was the guy that stumped the truck on
I did not know him.
NFL Network. Sam Roberts, literally no one knew who he was. So unless Sam Roberts ends up being a 10-year starter, it just ends up being a throwaway pick. And so it just seems crazy that they're spending all this time grabbing these just small school players. It just feels like they could have done a little better. And almost every single one of their picks just felt like a reach of a guy that would have been there around later, or that every single one of their picks got picked 10 or 15 picks too early.
How about the fact that they doubled up on running back too? What was up with that?
Yeah, apparently Belichick's plan is to run the single wing this year. I don't know. They go with pick 127, pick 183, and like you just said, Traps, 2 running backs right there with a quarterback sandwiched in between. So, I mean, what are you doing there? I don't know. It's just none of it really made sense to me. But again, Belichick is a football genius. I am not compared to him, so maybe he'll make it all work. But for now, this is just a questionable draft.
There's a 0.0% chance you call them losers if Tom Brady's on the roster.
Well, I mean,
because you're going to get torched. It's like, the Patriots are good again.
I'm not worried about Mac Jones killing me.
Who's old takes exposed. By the way, just randomly, I don't know if I'm sure I've mentioned this because I've mentioned everything, but there's a guy in our Robbie's flag football league. There's a coach for another team, and he played at Navy. And he played football at Navy. He's constantly wearing Navy, he wears Navy shirts when he coaches. And he has a full printed out playbook and runs the full triple option. It's kind of fun to watch. I mean, unfortunately for him, he got smoked by this guy.
What are you running?
His jet sweep off it. No big deal. Anyway, nice. Moving on. Traps, give us a loser.
I went with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think I said it at some point over the last couple of days. I don't remember. All these videos are kind of gelling together. That they went with the Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma thing. Josh didn't dislike it as much as I did, but especially after signing a big ticket item at linebacker, it just seemed redundant to not only have to trade extra picks to get Devin Lloyd, but then go Chad Muma, who's a middle linebacker. They're both middle linebackers. You already have one. You mentioned Snoop Conner earlier, Brinson. I do like him as a power back. He's really dynamic. He didn't get a lot of carries at Ole Miss behind Jerry and Ely, who didn't get drafted. I like that selection. I didn't like Gregory Jr. too much in round 6 from Ouachita Baptist. I know he was at the Senior Bowl. The athleticism was good, but I think he's going to have a steep learning curve once he gets into the NFL, dealing with professional wide receivers. He didn't really face any of those in college. And Luke Fortner, I liked him. I didn't think, in round 3, that seemed a little early. And then I just was, anti Travon Walker at number 1 overall. So you're right. It was hard for me to find a team that I disliked almost all of their selections. But the Jaguars probably came the closest for me. I was a little confused what this rebuilding team was doing in the 2022 draft.
Next up.
You will never find me getting mad at the Jacksonville Jaguars 2022 NFL draft because, Trayvon Walker and all of the units. All of the units. There's going to be people like, I'm telling you, that draft pick is going to live in infamy on gambling Twitter.
That draft pick bought Brinson a yacht.
No,
got you
man,
$20
like
Breech.
More like
So
$20
you guys
you
want to
get-
get on the
you get your
Brinson
dinner.
Sucks yacht because that's the name of the yacht.
If I ever buy a yacht, I will name it Brinson Sucks. How about that? That is my promise to you.
What a great promise.
Josh, a loser.
Yeah, so mine is kind of a cascading loser because it impacts multiple parties.
You actually go like 4 deep or 5 deep on here to be perfect.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
So I took the Carolina Panthers. We discussed it heavily on the first 2 days of the draft, but actually loved what they did by taking Ike Ekwonu. I think that was a savvy move there, just constructing the offensive line in the event that you're able to plug and play a quarterback next year should you take him. Also thought they might be in the market for Baker Mayfield, but I'll get to that. Matt Corral to take him in the 3rd round, trade up, give up a future 3rd round pick. If neither Matt Corral nor Sam Darnold are the future of your organization, you just traded away a valuable draft asset to possibly use in the search of a quarterback next year. And then Brandon Smith, the linebacker from Penn State, very athletic player. He's just late to react to the ball. He's with that kind of athleticism, you expect him to be first on the scene, and he just wasn't for Penn State. So that's another reason why I didn't care for that one. Amari Barno tested off the charts. I mean, he ran like a 4.38 40-yard dash, something ridiculous like that at his size. But the production, the tape just didn't match. Kind of a project moving to the 2nd level. And then, honestly, I have no issue with Cade Mays or Kalen Barnes, their final 2 choices. But, again, Kalen Barnes, a guy that's played for Matt Rule at Baylor and has tremendous speed. I mean, you're talking about a track squad at this point with Barno and Kalen Barnes. But the cascading part of this is because of their move to pick up Matt Corral, that took them out of the Baker Mayfield market, which means that there's one less suitor for Baker Mayfield. Cleveland may not be able to find somebody to take him at this point, which means they could eat his entire salary. They could ask him to stay away from the building and try to wait until somebody signs him in free agency next year, pick up a comp pick. Maybe you keep him through training camp to see if somebody gets injured and then trade him away like Philadelphia did a couple of years ago with name escapes me, former Sam Bradford, to get a good value in return, like what Philadelphia was able to do. Maybe that's an option, but I thought it would have been a better path this year to give up less capital this year, take on a guy like Baker Mayfield. You have your offensive tackle that you took in the 1st round. Just if it doesn't work out, you clean the slate next year with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield off the books, no skin off your back, and you still got valuable draft capital to make a move and get a quarterback.
All right, I'm going to sneak a fourth winner in here. It's Josh Edwards. What a performance on this particular podcast. One, I can't remember what you said that made me laugh. Sorry, you jumped in on the whatever it was and made me cackle. And 2, this pick of the Panthers / Baker Mayfield / the Browns / everyone but the Seahawks / Jimmy Garoppolo, just an elite level loser pick. Because I was trying to find a way to make the Panthers losers, but I'd already gotten so much hate mail about my rant about Matt Corral, who I like, that I wasn't willing to go down that rabbit hole. And plus, I don't want to kill him because they drafted my guy, Ike Ekwonu, and I think that was the right move. I just didn't like giving up the capital they gave up for Matt Corral. But you managed to avoid naming the Browns losers for being unable to move Baker Mayfield, putting it on the Panthers. So you pushed the team away, you buried the host team, and you correctly pointed out that what the Seahawks were Pete Carroll's driving over the cliff like Thelma and Louise. Like, you think I won't draft a quarterback? Like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. He's just flying over the draft. He's like, we'll go Drew Lock and Geno Smith. I don't care. Browns, cut him. If you want us to get him, you cut him. We don't pay him anything. The deal fell through with the Panthers and Baker, and Tepper panicked, whatever. The Browns, I think the Browns are in a pretty good spot. I know Traps had them as a winner. They got Deshaun Watson. I think they're in a good spot, but this Baker Mayfield thing is a problem, man.
One thing I'll say on this, I hope, just because this saga with Baker Mayfield and Watson and how that unfolded, I think it would be very on brand for this whole situation if they can't trade him. Watson gets suspended, and then Baker Mayfield is the week 1 starter, and then
6-0 or something.
And then he starts 6-0, and they're like, what do we do now? And that would just be, I mean, believe me, being someone that's raised in
where he starts
6-0,
and asking price goes from we have to pay you $9 million and give you a 5th round pick to we'll take 2 first-round picks, thank you.
Yeah, if he starts 6-0 and looks awesome, then all of a sudden they can deal before the trade deadline. They're in great shape, and but then like, what if Baker's better than Watson? I mean, you're not wrong, Traps. Like the idea that the Browns will start the season with Baker Mayfield as QB1 because Watson is suspended is not a far-fetched idea. Really, the only landing spot. There's 2 landing spots, I think. Seattle, and they're playing chicken. Tampa Bay is the one that's been like bandied about a lot. If you see anything at plus money with Tampa Bay to take Baker, I think that's probably worth a flyer, just because toss him behind Tom Brady and put Kyle Trask in there, and maybe it works out. All right,
Brinson, you want to share that? You want to share that YouTube stat that I shared with you last night about the Matt Corral video?
Oh God, it's the most disliked video in the history of the Pick Six podcast. Like the percentage of dislikes relative to likes, the highest it's ever been.
Our average approval rating for a video is 95%. Good. Thank you guys for liking that one. 19%.
I went back and watched it today. It was me, and you're talking about the one where me and Traps were talking about the pick, right?
Yep.
I mean, I wasn't unhinged, but I was pretty pissed off.
I splashed an F on the thumbnail because you called it an F. Traps did not call it an F, but you called it an F, so I felt comfortable, getting the people to click on it because you called it an F, and fans were not happy.
Fine. I'll throw an extra loser on here. Panthers fans, do you know how draft picks work? Do you know how draft capital works? You think they're I got random jabronis quote tweeting me LOL. I love when the NFL media shows their ass and doesn't understand how the draft actually works. I'm like, do you think that's how it works? Do you not remember 3 or 4 years ago when they drafted Will Grier with the 3rd round pick as a total waste of draft capital? We listed all these dudes who were drafted in the 3rd round that are really good football players, and it's almost never a quarterback. I like Matt Corral. I like him as a player. I'm fully prepared for the blowback if he ends up being a Hall of Famer or even a Pro Bowler. Even if he's an MVP, I'm fine with it. But the idea that the Panthers would be and moan for 2 months about not having a 2nd or 3rd round pick and then trade back into the 3rd round for next year's 3rd rounder and draft a quarterback when you could have sat there and taken Sam Howell at no extra cost. There's no one on planet Earth that can definitively say Matt Corral will be a better NFL quarterback than Sam Howell. There's just not. It's a friggin' coin flip. You're talking about late in the draft, and I'm doing it again. Why am I ranting about this stupid thing?
We're going to lose all our likes for this video. This one's going to double the dislike go to the last one.
If you're not a Panthers,
this is a future 3rd. What does that matter? It's that was a 70th overall pick this year.
If you're not a Panthers fan, go read the comments. You will enjoy yourself.
They're pretty funny. It's this guy doesn't know crap about football. Come down to Charlotte. I'll punch you in the punchable.
Learn the game, Brinson. Learn the game.
All right. My loser is a person I like. It's John Breech.
I'm
just kidding. It's Ryan Tannehill. And I think Ryan Tannehill's career with Tennessee has been outstanding. It took a while to he had some good stats, but it took a while for him to take off in Miami. He was a converted wide receiver out of A&M. But it is impossible not to think that Ryan Tannehill lost big time in this draft. In the 1st round, they traded away A.J. Brown. And all due respect to Treylon Burks, but we know what A.J. Brown is. And Treylon Burks is a rookie wide receiver. There is no one on planet Earth who will bet you even money that Treylon Burks will be more productive in 2022 than A.J. Brown. If you find that person, bet as much as you humanly possible. Offer them your children, offer them everything you have in your life, and take A.J. Brown and just deal with the injury risk. They also drafted in the 3rd round Malik Willis at 86 overall. And they are very clearly refusing to give Ryan Tannehill a new contract because he's being pissy and letting it be known that he's not coming to training camp or coming to off-season workouts because he knows he's not getting another big contract from anywhere else. And he is an older veteran quarterback, and they have drafted his replacement and traded away his best weapon and cut Julio Jones. Their number one receiver is Robert Woods. Their number two receiver is Treylon Burks, who was drafted in the first round. And to top it off, it's like, wait, Hollywood Brown for an 18, or was it Hollywood Brown for a 23?
29.
It was an 18 for AJ Brown. Gosh, golly. So Ryan Tannehill, I don't think he's a loser in real life. He's definitely a winner. Made a ton of money. Seems like a very personable wife.
Led his team to a number one seed.
Led his team to a number one seed last year. Gets to hang out with Derrick Henry and Taylor Lewan. Seems like a fun life. He's a loser on this particular weekend because of what the Titans did.
Wow. I hope this word doesn't get back to Tannehill.
I'm sure I'll get dragged somehow for it.
He'll throw eggs at my house.
I can't wait. Matt Corral's Hall of Fame. Like, I'm going to get highlighted my career was Trayvon Walker going 1. And now next up is getting Matt Corral mentions me in his Hall of Fame speech. Just a la Mike Lombardi. Okay.